Start recording. Are you recording? Hello? Yeah, I think so. Sweet. Look how trippy this is. Woo! Anyway, I thought I would start trying to do videos of every photo I edit. Every photo is not going to happen, but when I can find a good one, I thought we may as well go through what I get up to. So, I am actually going to pick a bunch of these. This is a little shoot I did last night at Diamond Lake. Let's just highlight all of them. I already had it open. Okay, found the one that I want. Excuse my brain farts. I didn't have a lot of sleep today because this was at about 5:30 in the morning. I took this, I think. So, still a bit lacking, but we'll see what happens. I suppose quickly go through. It was ISO 10,000, f3.2, just wanted a bit of extra light, 20 seconds. My lens was fogging a lot each shot for this, so I did a little bit of a shorter shutter speed just to try and get a bit less fog on the lens. Came out alright, it's not too foggy in there. But yeah, I suppose it's good to kind of have a look around. This is what a raw file looks like at ISO 10,000, a little bit of noise, but she's not too bad. Kept it all single shot, didn't bother focus stacking anything. See how it goes. So, crack into it, let's see what we got. Basically, I'll throw highlights all the way down, shadows all the way up, and see if I like that. Gonna give it a bit of contrast. I'm actually gonna bring the highlights way back and the shadows down a bit because I've lost all my contrast in there. Just wanted to see what we've got. But first, let's push the whites up a bit. About 33 is nice. Blacks down a touch, and yeah, I'm definitely gonna bring those highlights back up. I love that bright moon in there, so we'll go for that. And then shadows, you can come down. I don't really want all of this magenta-y, noisy shit all in here. So yeah, I think dark so you can't really see anything in those shadows is pretty cool. I'll go a little bit of vibrance. Usually I go about 15 and 5 vibrant saturation for Astro, but we've got a lot of blue in the sky from that moon, so I'm just going to leave it with it a little bit. Might warm it up 2 or 3 clicks, see if that does any favours. Really subtle adjustment, but it does make a difference. Yeah, we'll stay there, 4150, that'll do. Tone curve, I like to push the lights a little bit, brings out a nice bit of colour and just brightens those lighter areas up a bit. Darks, usually I push them down a bit, but we're already looking pretty good. I don't want to go too far on them. Let's go 2 or 3. And bring up the shadows a touch, just kind of brings out what's going on in those darker areas a little more. Yeah, 13 will do. Don't really need to touch highlights to do anything. Nah, it's just making my Milky Way core a bit brighter. We'll leave it there. Sharpening and noise reduction. Let's get in here. We'll go to 200% and have a look at things. So I usually will do sharpening at about 50. Just give it a touch. Radius down to 0.8. To be honest, I have no idea why. I just saw someone do it one day and liked it, so I've always put the radius at 0.8. And I'm going to crank the masking up heaps, so that's just going to bring, actually if I hold Option I believe and drag that, that shows you where that masking is effective. So at 0, everything is being sharpened. As I drag that masking up, it's just sharpening less and less and less, so way up here you're only sharpening your stars and you're not really sharpening noise. So somewhere around 77 should look pretty good. And luminance, how much noise reduction do we need? So we got a bit of noise down in these shadows, especially in this foreground. I'll usually go at ISO 10,000 around 30 to 35 on the luminance of noise reduction. There's 33. That's pretty good, so I'll go back and forward between that. Just looking at these shadow areas down here, seeing how they come out before and after. Yeah, it's pretty good. You definitely lose a bit of sharpness, but at the end of things it's still going to look pretty awesome, so I'm not bothered. And that's most of the main adjustments. I might desaturate the blues a tiny bit just because that moon does make the sky a little blue. Again, just ideas I'm trying. No, I'm going to leave it actually. Kind of like the blue in there. Sometimes I will do split toning and do a little touch, maybe 3 or 4 in the saturation and some oranges or magentas or something depending on the colours in there, but this one doesn't need anything. Always remove chromatic aberration in the lens corrections. I don't ever really use enable profile corrections unless I'm doing panoramas. Sometimes I will, but I kind of like a bit of natural vignetting. But I will control that with the effects panel, but I'll do a little bit of manual correction of vignetting, so 27 looks alright. And the reason I do this is once you do some manual post-crop vignetting, bring the midpoint in, give it a bit of feather, and you bang the highlights up. Really hard to tell, doesn't make a huge difference, but those highlights will bring out your stars up in these top corners a little bit more. So if you go really dark on a vignette, it makes your stars look pretty awesome up in that top corner, if you can see that, which I'm definitely not going to do, that's ridiculous, but I'll give it a little bit of vignette, maybe 10. What's that look like? I'm going to brighten up my foreground once I get into Photoshop, I think, but that looks pretty good. Sometimes in the camera color calibration, whatever that one's called, I'll up the tint on the magentas to 2 or 3, but I don't think that's really going to do many favours on this photo. Couldn't even see a difference, to be honest, so I won't worry about that. Now, I'll pretty much open that and bring it into Photoshop, although I might just test my shadows, bringing them up. Yeah, actually, that's nice. Bring the shadows up a little bit, just brings a bit more of that moonlight hitting the grass there. So, go with that and open her up. Oh, and it's opened all the other 17 bloody ones I clicked on. There was some fog on my lens, pretty trippy effect actually, it's kind of cool. But anyway, get away from those. So we are in Photoshop now. Got my Nik tools. I don't know whatever you call it. Selective tools, filters up there. What do I want to do? Usually I'll start off with a luminosity mask curves on the lights. I find that's usually a pretty good little adjustment to start off with. So I will see how that looks. It should do some nice things to my Milky Way and sky. Although, no, it's just kind of darkening things down, making it a bit too blue, so I'm not going to bother with that one. Let's try out some tonal contrast with Nik Color Efex Pro 4. See what happens. Go down here. So tonal contrast, usually a pretty intense one. As you can see, it's a bit much as it is out of the box, so I'll crank down the highlights somewhere around between 10 and 15, about 30 on the mid-tones, yeah, 14 will do on the shadows, drop the saturation down a few clicks. I will lift the shadows a tiny bit, 10 will do, and also the highlights I might drop down, yeah, 11 that'll do. Just kind of wing it with those numbers somewhere around there. So that's definitely given me a nice bit of Milky Way detail, bringing out all those dust lanes and things. And yeah, a bit more kind of contrast, bringing out these light rays on the grass there. But still a bit kind of crunchy. I really like the soft sort of feel I have without it. So I'm going to bring that into Photoshop and put a layer mask on it and then just kind of ease it in. Again, all of this stuff I'm just sort of trying, seeing what happens. So layer mask button down here, I'm going to hold option, click that, so I get a black layer mask, hit G, so I've got the fill tool, and let's go 33% overall. Flick that back and forwards here, it's just a nice little touch contrast in there. Get my brush, 33%, and I've always got my brush feather down to 0, just so I don't get any hard edges, or hardness I should say. Just checking that it is actually at 0. Paint a little touch in the Milky Way just to see if it looks alright and isn't too much. So back and forward with Command Z on that. Yeah, we'll keep that little touch there in the Milky Way. And I might just paint a little bit over these lighter areas here in the foreground. I'll go Command Option Z 3 times just to go back and forward between those. Yeah, a little bit of detail down there is nice. So just a little subtle adjustment. Alrighty. What else can we do? I'm tempted to possibly try and get rid of these trees up on this left hand side here, but I don't know if that's really going to do me any favours. Let's give it a shot. So I've just gone Command Option Shift E for that shortcut to create a new layer, and I'll just go up here and I'll do it real quick actually. I'm just going to use the spot removal tool, be a bit lazy. Usually I'd use the selection tool and use content aware, but this is basically the same thing, just doesn't work quite as well. But I just want to see if it's worth my time. Hey, stop giving me a new stick. Go away. There we go. Bit messy, a lot of little black bits here and there, but just quickly have a look. Nah, doesn't really. Oh, nah, I kind of like it with that tree actually. Sort of gives it a bit more of a frame. So delete that layer. Now I might just try a little bit of an exposure adjustment just to bring up the foreground light there and accentuate that lovely moonlight hitting the grass. So just hit Command Delete to make that exposure mask black. Got my brush, 33% again. I'll just go kind of big and just wave that all over the foreground there. Do that a couple of times. Just get a bit more on these sections of light. And is that doing me any favours? Yeah, that's quite nice. I might actually paint it out, so just hit X to get my colour to black. X is a really handy little shortcut for those of you who don't know. And we'll just paint a little bit of that exposure out of the shadow there, so that's what my mask looks like. Yeah, that's alright, although that might be maybe too much. I don't want to bring too much attention to that foreground, so let's drop the opacity to maybe 60-ish. Yeah. Just keep it subtle. There we go. And I should be saving this as we go as well, so I need an image name. Usually I'll name it from lyrics of a song or something I'm listening to. This I'm gonna call Wet Legs, because my legs got absolutely soaked when I was running around through this grass this morning, so that'll do. What else? Basically with these moonlight shots, when you got a bit of moonlight in there, I find you can't really do a whole lot of crazy adjustments. You've just got to leave them pretty much as they are, because it sort of does everything for you. They usually look pretty cool. I'll try a little bit of classical soft focus out of Nick Color Effects. Give it a little bit of glow. That usually looks kind of nice in moonlight photos, so we'll throw that in there. Now pretty much always with this filter we'll go -11 on the brightness, and then it'll bring the highlights up to around 60 or 70%. There we go, 69 will do. Might do 2 on the shadows. So yeah, it gives me a little bit of glowy effects. I really like that around the moon, so I'll definitely paint it in a lot around these trees. And I'll just gently bring it in some other places around this shot. See what I can do. Cool, so again I'm going to hold Option and click the layer mask button just so I get that black layer mask. Hit G to get the fill tool, hit X so I've got my white colour, so I'm actually filling things in. And we'll go 33 across everything. Yeah, that looks pretty nice. So I'm going to get my brush, again I'm going to go with quite a big size here, 33%, and just paint around 2 or 3 times over that moon. Yeah, so it just gives a nice glow around that moon. And then I might do a little run over my moonlight in the grass down here, just to see if that's going to give a nice effect or not. So that was 3 brush strokes, so I'll go Command Option Z, 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 and then if I go Command Z I can look at those back and forward again. Yeah, really subtle, but does make a slight difference. We have a bit of noise down in here as well, so we'll deal with that soon. But for now, that's pretty much it, actually. Really didn't need to do too much to this one. Let's go Command-Option-Shift-E again. And I'm going to bring it into Camera Raw with a Camera Raw filter. See if I am just looking, maybe I can brighten up some of these stars around the edges here, see if I can do something there. I'm also going to test bringing up the exposure a little bit. Just hitting P in Camera Raw to go back and forward between no adjustments and whatever you've changed. Nah, we don't need to. Oh, better go back to that. Let's go 5. Little touch brighter. I sometimes will use this highlight slider here. As you can see, it makes the Milky Way core go pretty nasty in that moon. But if I just paint that in around the edges, I can just make those stars jump out just a little bit more, which can be good. Got a lot of blues going on in here though, so I don't really want to get those in there. So saturation on the blues down just a touch. Let's go 7. 6, 5. I'll go 4 because I lost a little bit of blues in these top corners. So basically I'm just going to paint it in around there. So let's see if that is going to be any good. Again, option click on that mask button. 33%, decent sized brush, and we'll just paint in gently around here. Basically I don't want to touch really any of that Milky Way core with this. I did a little bit up the top there because there's not heaps of colour, so you're not going to make anything look too crazy. And I'll do a bunch of clicks further around the edge here. Maybe get a little bit around that tree. And see if, yeah, let's just brighten up my sky a little bit, made those stars pop just a tiny bit more. So I'm actually just going to leave this image at that. Pretty simple. Yeah, so to finish it off, I'm actually going to save it before I do anything else. Keep forgetting to do that. I will use Nik Define and just run a quick noise reduction filter over it and have a quick look over everything, go in at 100 or so %, and basically paint that noise reduction in where I need it. So that's done an awesome job in all these shadows. There was a wee bit of noise there, as you can see, before, after. So I'll pretty much leave that at 100% in these really dark parts here. I might paint it out. My grass has just turned to a brown mush with all that noise reduction, so I'll definitely paint it out a bit in the grass there. How are those shadows? Yeah, it's done me some favours there. I'm definitely going to paint it out a bit at the foreground because it's now just gone to a big mush of softness. Sky looks pretty good, but I don't think we need all that noise reduction, so I'll definitely reduce it in the sky as well. So basically I just want 100% in this line of shadows in the trees here. So I'm just going to click the mask button, use the G tool, the fill tool with G. Let's go 40% colour to black over here, and see how that looks for the sky at least. Oops, I just clicked it one more time by mistake. Yeah, that's alright. And then if I go full just to check, yeah, it's better. How's the foreground? Bit more acceptable. I reckon I'm just going to go brush at 20% over this lower foreground section just to paint a little bit more of that noise reduction out so we get a bit more sharpness. Shush phone. Should put that in silent actually, it's probably a good idea. Yeah, so there's still a little bit of noise down there, but yeah, I want a bit of detail in that grass. So that will do. And then get my brush color to white, hit 0 for 100%, and I'm actually going to bring my mask up here. So that's just the little, what do you call it, the backwards backslash, not forward slash, backslash. So that kind of brings that mask up, shows you what you're doing. And I'll just paint 100% in that dark, noisy area here. Something kind of like that. And that should be pretty good. Lovely. So yeah, pretty much there you go. And I'll just, if it helps anyone as well, go through quickly. This is how I save for web. So basically I'll go layer, flatten image. I have my logo sitting on the desktop here. So I'll go Command A, Command C to copy that logo, paste it on here, drag it down to the bottom, and then drop the opacity down to about 8, a little too dark, 10. So it's pretty hard to see there. Let's go 11. But then I'll flatten that down, go image, image size, and change the height to 2000 pixels and use bicubic sharper. So that'll bring out that logo a little bit more. So now you can see it nicely. It's not too distracting, but it's definitely there. And that looks pretty good. So save as wet legs web in my web images folder as a JPEG at a quality of 10. And then for Instagram I will do a 4:5 crop ratio and just drag that out to give it some edges. Layer, flatten image, file, save as Insta on the desktop, and there we go. Well, I hope that helped you guys out. I'm going to try to do this for as many images as I can. I'll see you guys next time.